Hey World History, this is Miss Corey. Welcome to U2-L6, how to do CRAAP, or what I like to call CRAAP. All right, learning goals. Students will be able to identify the acronym of CRAAP, and students will be able to understand and practice the basic concepts of CRAAP. So last May, I had my World History class do a research project about a modernist event, so an event that happened post-World War II. I allowed them to use AI on the project, specifically Perplexity AI, which I will teach you how to do a little bit later this week. But it actually worked out really well for students. So I decided that I wanted to introduce that kind of research earlier into the year. So coming up, you're going to have a summative about a research project of Egyptian pharaohs. And I will let you use Perplexity AI for that. I will give you more information in the upcoming days here about how to do that in some of the lessons. But for now, I also want you to know how to do CRAAP. The reason for that is because AI is still an ongoing thing and it likes to pull from really random like resources and websites. So it would be great to have you know if AI is actually pulling from a decent resource instead of just something random off the internet. So that's why we're going to learn about CRAAP today. All right, so research can be hard to find reliable resources. So whenever in doubt, use CRAAP. So again, it refers to currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. All right, so has anyone ever used CRAAP in school before? Apparently some middle schools may have used it. That's the happiest photo of middle schoolers I could find on the internet. You're welcome. All right, so let's start this off. C stands for currency. That is the timeliness of the information. So, when in doubt, I want you to ask these questions. When was the information published or posted? Have the information been revised or updated? Does your topic require current information or will older sources work as well? And are the links on the website still functioning? So, let's take a look at an example. So, let's pretend that I'm doing a research topic about the 2024 political campaign spending. Here is going to be my first example. So this is a news article from Politico, and it says 2008 campaign costliest in U.S. history. It was published back in November 5th, 2008. It says the 2008 campaign was the costliest in history with a record-shattering fee. 5.3 billion in spending by candidates, political parties, and interest groups on the congressional and presidential races. All right, so let's take a look at these questions again. So, when was the information published or posted? It was back in 2008. Had the information been revised or updated? So, typically on news articles, they'll say revisions right up here by the original posting date, and it doesn't look like it has been. And does your topic require current information or will older sources work as well? Ooh, that's a really good question. So, my research topic is about the 2024 political campaign spending. This one's about 2008. And are the links to the website still functioning? So going through here, like the links that are actually embedded within the article, there's not really many, so that one's a little bit hard to say for this. All right, so I'll pause here. Do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of currency? Why or why not? For me, it would not be a good one because my research topic is about the 2024 political campaign, not the 2008 political campaign. So I'll say pass on this one. All right, let's look at the next example. So again, I'm still talking about the 2024 political campaign spending. So this one says how Harris's campaign spent $277 million in the final weeks. The Harris campaign also continued to raise millions from small dollar donors after losing the election, according to the new campaign fundraising reports. All right, so then I see that it was published December 6, 2024 by these authors here. So let's take a look. When was the information published or posted? So it was published back in 2024, right after the election. Had the information been revised or updated? Again, that would be shown here. It doesn't look like it. Does the topic require current information or will older sources work as well? So again, my topic is about the 2024 political campaign spending, and this is exactly what it's talking about because it was published in 2024 talking about the Harris campaign. And then are the links to the website still functioning? So if I go here, it looks like that video is still working. So yeah, the links are still functioning. All right, I'll pause here. Do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of currency? Why or why not? In my opinion, yeah, this would be a good source to use because it is very, very current. All right, next, let's look at relevance. So, relevance is the importance of the information for your needs. So, ask yourself these questions. Does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Who is the attendant audience? Is the information at an appropriate level, meaning it's not too simple yet not too difficult to read? And have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you'll use? And would you be comfortable citing this source in your research paper/project? Ooh, really good questions. So let's take a look at some examples again. So let's pretend we're still on the topic of the 2024 political campaign spending. And I had my first example, which is this one right here. So does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? So this, again, is about the 2008 campaign as costliest in the US history. It talks about campaign spending, but it's 2008, not 2024. Who is the attendant audience? So for this one would be a little bit like time consuming to go through just because I'm just doing a quick example here. But the main audience for this, if I was to read the whole article, would be for people who wanted to know where kind of the breakdown of all the money was going. And is the information at an appropriate level? So if I'm an 11th grader or high schooler reading this, yeah, I can understand this pretty easily. So I'd say it's at an appropriate level. And have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you will use? Again, for the sake of time, let's just pretend I have. And would you be comfortable citing the source in your research paper or project? So I'd have to dig in a little bit more to know what political is and seeing if that news source is a little bit more left or right or center leaning. So I'll pause here for a second. Will this be a good resource to use in terms of relevance? Why or why not? All right, for this one, I'm going to say no again, just because from this first question here, does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? It really doesn't because it's about the 2024 campaign and this article is about the 2008 campaign. All right, then let's go on to the next one again. So the same article about how Harris's campaign spent $277 million in the final weeks. So does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Yeah, it does, because it's about the 2024 Harris campaign. Who is the attended audience? So reading through this for just the sake of time, again, it's going to be kind of the breakdown of what candidate spent what with their money that they had coming in from donations. Is the information at an appropriate level? Yeah, if I'm a high schooler reading this, I'm good. I can read this just fine. Have you looked into a variety of sources before determining this is the one you will use? Again, for the sake of time, let's just say I did. And then would you be comfortable citing the source in your research paper or project? Again, I'll have to look at NBC News to see which way, if it's more left-leaning, right-leaning, or somewhere in the middle, especially that's important for news sources. So would this be a good resource to use in terms of relevance? Why or why not? So I would have to look a little bit more into NBC News, but overall, I think this would be a good one because it is relevant. It is talking about what I want to know, which is the 2024 political campaign spending. All right, so if you have taken trending topics with me, or maybe you're currently in trending topics with me, you will see this a lot. So this is called All Sides. It is a website that's really nice because it tells you what news sources and like what biases that they have. So this is also a really nice chart as well. You can click on this link, it'll take you to the website and you can get more detailed list of everything. But here are some of the biggest news sources here. As you can see, these columns would be more left-leaning, these columns would be a little bit more right-leaning, and this column here would be a lot more in the center. So if you are looking at news articles, which of course for this unit we're not going to be doing because it's about ancient Egyptian pharaohs, but For future projects, just make sure that you stick to these 3 middle columns here. That's what I usually tell my trending topics class. Um, you don't want to get far to the left or far to the right because that's where all the biases really start coming out. All right, then we have A, which is authority. So that is the source of information. So ask yourself these questions. Who is the author, publisher, source/sponsor? What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Is the author qualified to write on the topic? Is there contact information such as a publisher or email address? And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source, like a .com, .edu, .gov, .org, or .net? So let's take a look at some examples. So this time, let's pretend our research topic is about ancient Greece. Okay, so let's go to example number 1. So this website is Ducksters, and somehow students really like to use Ducksters, and I don't know why. So who's the author, publisher, source, or sponsor? So it's this Ducksters thing, and I'm going to kind of scroll through. Okay, it's giving me some information, but I don't really see who wrote this. They don't really give an author. That's a little weird. Let's see. I can go to About Ducksters. It'll give me a little bit more information, but it doesn't really give me like anyone's names. It's kind of weird. All right. Now, what are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Again, it doesn't say too much about their affiliations and who these authors are. Is the author qualified to write on this topic? Again, I don't know. It doesn't say an author. Is there contact information, such as a publisher or email address? Let's take a look. So it says if I need any feedback, I can email this email address right here, but it's just a Gmail address. I mean, anyone can just make a Gmail address. And then does the URL reveal anything about the author or the source? So looking up here, so it's a .com, and anyone can make a .com. So here's a question for you. Do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of authority? Why or why not? For me, I say no. I don't know who any of the authors are or their credentials or anything. So I'm going to say no to this one. All right, next, let's look at this example. So this is a like post thread, and it says, so like, where did ancient Greek kings live? Did they have palaces, personal forts? And then a bunch of people are just commenting on stuff. Okay, let's take a look. So who is the author, publisher, source, or sponsor? So looking down here at some of the answers, I have no idea who these people are. They're just usernames. They might not even be real people. All right, what are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? I could click into these people's profiles, but who knows what they say? Is the author qualified to write on this topic? I have no idea. It's just a random person on the internet. Is there contact information, such as a publisher or email address? Again, these people are just commenting on a post. I mean, I could go under their profile and like message them, but that'd be kind of weird. And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? So looking at this, it's a .com and it's part of a social media page. So that should be a huge red flag right from there. So do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of authority? Why or why not? For me, I'd say definitely not. Who knows who these people are? They might not even be people. They could just be like AI bots. So this is a really big lesson. AI loves to take information from Reddit, Facebook, and all their social media pages. Although any person can just post on social media, and it doesn't have to be true. It could be completely made up lies. So that would be a really bad source to use. All right, let's look at one more example. Again, we're still talking about ancient Greece. So this is Britannica. So who's the author, publisher, source, sponsor? So the source is Britannica. They've been around for many, many decades. Before the internet, they would make paper encyclopedias. Now they are an internet encyclopedia place. You can also see the author. His name is Simon Hornblower. What are the author's credential or organizational affiliations? And is the author qualified to write on this topic? So clicking into it, we can see Simon Hornblower, and he is a professor of classics and ancient history at the University of Oxford. Oh my gosh, that's like one of the best universities in all of the world. Yeah, I'd say this guy, he knows his stuff. Is there contact information such as a publisher or email address? So it looks like I can give feedback and ask questions directly to Britannica just through a chat forum, nothing super formal. And then does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? So Britannica is a .com, but this is one of the few exceptions of websites that are actually really good that are .coms. I use this actually a lot myself as a history teacher to get information. So do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of authority? Why or why not? For me, this would be a great source to use. Like I just said, I use Britannica a lot because they're very reputable. They've been around for decades and they have some of the best people publishing these articles. All right, next, let's go to accuracy. So, accuracy is where does this information come from? So, is the information supported by evidence? Has the information been reviewed or referred? Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? Does the language or tone seem unbiased and free of emotion? And are there any spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? So, again, let's take a look at some example websites and we'll still pretend that we are doing ancient Greece stuff. So, let's take a look here. So, is the information supported by evidence? So going through this is talking about Greek language and literature, pretty cool stuff. Oh, look at that. They even have a primary source of something from ancient Greece and is talking about all of the faculty that contribute to these ancient Greek studies at their university. And it also has a bunch of publications that those professors have done. Huh, interesting. Okay. Has the information been reviewed or refereed? Looking back here, it doesn't say anything right off the bat, but if they're publications, that means they had to be peer reviewed at some point of time. So I'm going to say yes. And can you verify any of the information from another source or from personal knowledge? Yeah, the nice thing about this website is they give you a bunch of publications. So you can look through these. You can see that you can refer to sources within each of the publications. Does the language or tone seem unbiased or free of emotion? So again, for the sake of time, pretend I wrote this. Let's say, yeah, it's pretty unbiased. It's not saying the Greeks were super great or super awful. It's just kind of giving you information. And are there spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? So again, for the sake of time, if I read this, I would see that there are no grammar errors. All right, so do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of accuracy? Why or why not? For me, I'd say yeah. I think it'd be pretty good. Again, I'd have to dive a little bit deeper into the professors and publications, but concerning this is the University of Pittsburgh, which is also a very prominent school, I think it's a double thumbs up to use this. All right, let's take a look at another one. All right, so this is a Prezi presentation. Let's see if it loads up for me. Okay. Ancient Greece. What is it all about? All right. Cool pictures. Yep. Mm-hmm. So it says a place called Greece, Europe near Italy, southeast of England, peninsula, mountains and valleys. Has this random video of a kid talking. Has a map. City life in Greece. So why are you dressed like that in clothes? Color men and women, usually wool clothes, lower class, white cloth. Dye is expensive, had forced marriages, age marriage. All right. And then has another kid just randomly talking. Okay. And then they have Sparta versus Athens a little bit, and then another random kid talking. All right. Interesting stuff. Let's take a look. So is this information supported by evidence? No, they don't really give any evidence of anything. They give some names of by who each slide is, but I have no idea who those people are. They could just be random people they pulled off the street. All right, has the information been reviewed or refereed? This is a Prezi. There really is no way of knowing that. Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? I'm sure I could go and look up like different city life in Greece and I could find different sources that maybe say this, but there's no direct links. Does the language or tone seem unbiased and free of emotion? It's all pretty kind of slideshowy, so it's all pretty, like just the facts, not a whole lot of emotions. And are there spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? Uh, Looking through it, they were a little bit. There's some weird formatting issues, especially this background. Whoever chose that background did awful. You can't even read the text on the slide. Like, come on. So, do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of accuracy? Why or why not? For me, it'd be a hard no. So Prezis, which I don't even know if you guys even use Prezis anymore, is like a slideshow thing. If you don't know what they are, I'd say no because anyone can make a Prezi. I can make a Prezi, you could make a Prezi, and we could just put a bunch of lies on it. So I'm gonna say no. All right, let's go to the last one. P is for purpose. That is the reason the information exists. So ask yourself these questions. What is the purpose of the information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? Do the author/sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Does the point of view appear objective, meaning no personal feelings and impartial? Are the political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? Ooh, that is a good question. So let's pretend my research topic is about Wicked the movie. All right, so here's my first example here. So this is from NBC. It says why Wicked is the over-the-top escape America needs right now. The musical adaptation is perfectly timed to an American audience eager for distractions after a bruising election cycle and its uncertain aftermath. Okay. And it was published November 22nd, 2024. All right. So let's go to these questions. It is good to note, by the way, on this one, that Comcast is the parent company of NBC and Universal, which is the company that made the movie Wicked. So, what is the purpose of this information? Is it to inform, to teach, to sell, to entertain, or to persuade? So, even just looking up here at the title, so why Wicked is the over the top escape America needs right now. I would say there's some persuasion in this because it's telling people, hey, go see Wicked. It's going to be an escape from reality for a little bit. Do the author sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? So looking down here, I'm looking, see if they say anything. Yes. So it says the distributors of the film of Universal Picture, like MSNBC, a unit of NBC Universal. So yeah, they do say that they are the same company that also made the movie, which is nice, but it's way here down at the bottom, and who knows if people will actually read the whole article and see that. And does the point of view appear objective, meaning no personal feelings and impartial? So looking up here, I mean, even looking at the title, you can see why Wicked is the overtop escape America needs right now. That's already pretty partial. There's a lot of personal feelings in there because the guy who wrote this is saying, hey, go see this movie. It's great. And then are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? There's definitely going to be personal biases because there's an opinion article about this movie. So do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of purpose? Why or why not? So this one's a little trickier. So it really depends what you want to do with research with Wicked the movie. If you want to talk about what critics were saying about it, or if you want to know more about the production of it, it would really depend. For me, I would be a little skeptical about this, just because it's going to have Wicked in this really great light. It's going to be very positive about it, because Comcast, who is the parent company of NBC, was the one who made the movie. So of course they're going to have their news people write great things about the movie, so it makes more money. All right, let's go into example number 2. So this one's from the BBC. And it says, Wicked Review. This drawn out and self important film proves the musical didn't need to be split into two parts. So, what is the purpose of this information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? Again, this is an opinion article about a movie critic, so probably there's going to be some persuasion in here. Do the author/sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Yeah, so this author is going to say, hey, you should see it, hey, you shouldn't see it, kind of thing. Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? It's going to definitely be opinion because, again, it's a movie critic. And does the point of view appear objective, meaning no personal feelings and impartial? Again, with movie critics, there's always going to be some personal feelings. And are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? Luckily, with the BBC, they are not a part of NBC. They're their own company itself, so it should be fairly unbiased when it comes to the fact that BBC did not have anything to do with the making of the movie. So, do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of purpose? Why or why not? Again, it's a little bit more trickier because the research topic is a little bit broad. But for me, I would say this is definitely a better source to use than the previous example that we looked at, just because BBC is its own company and it's not going to be just positive, positive, positive things compared to the NBC. All right, so holy crap, that was a lot of information. So, do you have any questions about what we just talked about? If you don't have any, that's okay, just type none. And if any questions do come up later, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help you. All right, so today we learned about CRAAP, which is currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. I know we went through a lot today. Thank you for sticking with me. I try to talk as fast as I could, but there's a lot to get through when it comes to this. So next up, you're going to do the U2-L7 CRAAP practice, which I have the link to the worksheet right here. So this is the CRAAP practice worksheet. What you're going to do is you're going to pretend that you're researching about ancient Roman Colosseum. And below are three websites. You're going to choose one of the three websites to view and then answer the CRAAP questions for one of your chosen websites. So again, looking down here, I did an example first about one of the websites I looked at. And then below my example, there's going to be three different websites you can choose from. So the first one is history.com. Answer all these questions. The second one is Britannica. Answer all these questions. And the third one is Mama Loves Rome Travel Blog. And then you're going to answer all these questions about CRAAP there. Okay, so again, just choose one of the three to practice on. You do not need to do all three of these websites. Just choose one to do. Okay, just choose one. All right, awesome. All right, and then you're going to do U2-L8, how to use Perplexity AI. And if you have any questions, comments, or simply want to learn more, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help you. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.